Good evening, everyone, and a very hearty welcome to all of you to Aurora in online classes. Dear students, uh, once again I am back, and I am back to carry on with the same lesson. And the lesson is from the diary of Anne Frank. In my previous class, I taught you that Mr. Keesing Mr. Keesing was Anne's mathematics teacher, and he was annoyed with her because she talked too much. So, as a sort of punishment, Mr. Keesing assigned her to write an essay on the topic a chatterbox. Chatterbox means talkative, and she was really talkative. That's why he gave her punishment to write an essay, and she wrote an essay. Actually, she wrote 3 pages, and she wanted, in her first essay, she wanted to prove that chatting is not a bad habit, talking is not a bad habit, and she justified the habit of talking by saying that talking is a student's trait, it is a student's quality, and since she has inherited this quality from her mother, from her parents, so inherited qualities are not curable. Means nobody can cure the qualities of a child inherited from his or her parents. So she justified the habit of talking. Means she justified the habit of talking. What does it mean? It means that she proved the validity of the fact that chatting or talking is a student's trait, it is a student's quality, and nobody can cure it. And secondly, she said, moreover, she said that it is inherited from her parents. Since she has inherited this quality of talking from her parents, that's why inherited qualities or inherited traits are not curable, it cannot be cured. So this gave a hearty laugh to everyone. Even Mr. Keesing had a good laugh when he heard this essay. And though she promised that she would not talk and she would try to control herself, but she didn't control herself, and she continued to talk. So as a result of which, Mr. Keesing once again assigned her to write one more essay, and this was the essay An Incorrigible Chatterbox. Mr. Keesing had a good laugh at my arguments, but when I proceeded to talk my way through the next lesson, he assigned me a second essay, and this time round, so she got, means Anne Frank got the second essay from her teacher, from her mathematics teacher, Mr. Keesing. And what was her second essay? Her second essay was An Incorrigible Chatterbox. Chatterbox means talkative, one who talks too much is called chatterbox, and incorrigible means that which cannot be corrected, means incorrigible chatterbox. So this time round, second time, she got to write an essay on incorrigible chatterbox. Incorrigible means that cannot be corrected. Though he warned her to give up this habit, yet she continued to talk in the class, and this is what, he was a strict teacher, he was a man of discipline and decorum. He wanted his students to be disciplined in the class. He did not like it. So at her first essay he had a good laugh, but now he gave her as a sort of punishment to write another essay, and that was An Incorrigible Chatterbox. I handed it in, and Mr. Keesing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. However, during the third lesson, he had finally had enough. Anne Frank, as punishment for talking in the class, write an essay entitled Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. So at first she got to write an essay on chatterbox, as a sort of punishment. Next time she got another essay by Mr. Kissing, and that was an incorrigible chatterbox. And third time, when she didn't stop talking, third time Mr. Kissing gave him the third essay, and the third essay was quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. This was the third essay assigned to Anne Frank by Mr. Kissing, her mathematics teacher, as a punishment. So she got punishment. The class roared. I had to laugh too, though I'd nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes. It was time to come up with something else, underline it, something original. My friend Sani, who is good at poetry, underline it, offered to help me. She offered to help her write the essay from beginning to end in verse, in poem, in form of poem. She had written two essays earlier. At first she wrote the essay on chatterbox. Second time she wrote an essay on the topic an incorrigible chatterbox. And third time she got to write an essay, quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. And she is saying that she had written a lot about chatterboxes, about being talkative. She had given her original ideas. She had put forth her original ideas. Whatever she could write, she had written. Whatever she knew, she had presented in the two essays. And she wanted, and now nothing was left with her. And this was a joke, and actually Mr. Kissing wanted to teach her a lesson. He was a man of discipline. He wanted that Anne should realize her mistake, but Anne took it as a joke. And now she had a very good friend, Sani. So Sani offered to help her to write this essay in a form of poetry. Means Sani advised Anne Frank to write this essay in poetic form, in form of a poetry. So it was a brilliant idea from Sani. And then she wrote an essay. Mr. Kissing was trying to play a joke on me. She is saying that Mr. Kissing was trying to play a joke on Anne with his ridiculous subject. It was really a very funny subject to write on. Mr. Kissing was trying to play a joke on me with this ridiculous subject, but I'd make sure the joke was on him. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother. What was this poem about? Who wrote on the topic quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox? Annie wrote on the topic on the advice of her friend Sani in a poetic form. She wrote this essay in the form of poetry. And what was the poetry? What did she write about it? It was really very funny. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. Means it was a beautiful essay, and she wrote in poetry by being advised by her friend Sani. What was this about? Listen. So it was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings. Ducklings are the young ones of duck. Duck के बच्चों को duckling. We call the young ones of the child of duck is called duckling. So I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings who were beaten to death by the father because they quacked, means they talked or they shouted too much. Luckily, Mr. Kissing took the joke the right way. So she wrote in her essay that there was a mother duck and father swan. And mother duck and father swan had 3 children. Mother duck and father swan had 3 children, and there were 3 ducklings. And these ducklings used to quack too much, they used to shout too much, they used to talk too much. And just because of the too much talking of the ducklings, the father I mean, the father Sven got so much irritated. He got so much irritated. He got so much annoyed. He got so much angry with the three ducklings, with with his three children, that all these three ducklings, all these three children were bitten. He bit them, and they were bitten to death. So this was a satire. This was a satire. This was a taunt. This was a joke, and actually, this is exactly what she write in indirect way. She wrote this essay to play a joke on Mr. Kijing. And when Mr. Kijing came to know, when he read out this essay, Mr. Kijing really, he did not get angry this time round. He had a very hearty laugh. He was so impressed. He was so impressed with such a beautiful satire that she took this joke. So who played a joke on whom? Anne Frank played a joke on Mr. Kijing through this poetic essay. And now, fortunately, Mr. Kijing did not get angry with Anne Frank. Rather than, he took the joke in the positive way. He took this joke in the right way, and he read. How can you say that he took the joke in the right way? Yes, he read this poem, because this poem was an essay. The essay was written in form of poetry, in a poetic form, and this, whose advice was it? Actually, her friend Seni gave a piece of advice to write an essay in poetry, because she was good at poetry. So she helped her write this essay, and it was in form of poetry. It was in poetic form. So Mr. Kijing took this joke in the right way, in the right perspective, in the positive manner, and he read this poem. He read this poem to the class, adding his own comment. He added his own comments too, and to several other classes as well. He was so impressed. He was so impressed. Kijing was so impressed that not only he read this poem to the class, but he gave some comment, his personal comments on it. Oh, it's very wonderful, like that. And he read it to several classes. And since then, I have, in it saying, since then I have been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned any extra homework. Underline it. On the contrary, Mr. Kijing's always making jokes these days. Now, this was what happened. And since then, as I said, that he was impressed. He was so much impressed, and he read he read her poem to the different classes. And not only this, and since then, he never gave any extra homework to Anne to punish her. Isn't it? And this time round, actually, she played a joke on Mr. Kijing, and this also changed Mr. Kijing's view. Her essay also changed Mr. Kijing's opinion. He was really a strict teacher, but now he had become a little fun-loving fellow. So this kind of transformation, this kind of change was brought by Anne Frank into the life of, into the nature and temperament of Mr. Kijing. So we can say that Anne Frank, though it was a joke, and Anne Frank wrote this poem, wrote the essay in a poetic form, this brought a change in Mr. Kijing's opinion, Mr. Kijing's nature, Mr. Kijing's temperament, Mr. Kijing's attitude. So such a strict teacher now became a little fun-loving person. And since then, Anne Frank never got any punishment, and she was not punished for talking in the class. So this is all about what she experienced uh, when she was studying in her school, and whatever she has expressed in her diary, this is authentic, this is true. So she was really a matured, a sharp minded, and intelligent girl. Actually, as I said in my previous class, that time teaches us everything. We cannot predict what will happen within a fraction of a moment, but we need to be bold and brave, and we should make the best use of every moment of life. I mean to say, we should enjoy every moment of life. Actually, she was constantly haunted by the Nazis. She went into hiding. She remained in hiding. Everybody died in her family. Mother died in the concentration camp. Her elder sister Margaret died in concentration camp. Even Anne Frank died because of typhus, a kind of disease, in concentration camp. Everybody died in the concentration camp. Everybody became the victim of Nazis party under the leadership of Hitler. Hitler was a dictator, and everybody became the cruel victim of Hitler's dictator. And 6 million Jews were killed in that Holocaust, in such a mass level destruction. But actually, there was only one person who was the survivor, and the only survivor in Anne Frank family was none other than Anne's father. And both Anne and her father had a strong bonding. And when he came back to Amsterdam, he got this diary. And one more thing I would say, that the diary which she started writing and she wrote, actually this diary was given to Anne Frank on her 13th birthday when she was 13 years old. It was her loving father, Otto Frank, who gave this diary to Anne Frank as a gift. And she wrote everything. She wrote about her early life. She wrote about the then present position, the adverse circumstances, unpleasant situation, critical time. And she also wrote about that she had a great rapport, she had a great attachment with her teacher, Mrs. Kyoperas, and she had a great attachment with her grandmother. You know, as I said earlier, that in the year 1942, she lost her grandmother, and on her birthday, on her birthday, Anne Frank lighted a special candle. A special candle. She lighted a special candle for her grandmother as a mark of respect and love for her on her birthday. So actually, she was really a very sensitive girl, sharp-minded, intelligent, and mature enough to understand the gravity of the situation. And whatever she wrote, whatever she expressed, this is true. And it was her father who got this diary published. And earlier, her diary, the diary of a young girl, this was the most famous book. It is still one of the most famous books in this world. And originally, this diary was written by Anne Frank. You know, she is the writer. Anne Frank herself is the writer. Originally, this was written in the Dutch language, but thereafter, this was published in English, and this was translated. This diary, I mean, in a form of a novel, came to the world. I mean, came to the people in form of so many languages. It was translated in so many languages. It was published in so many languages. So many films were made on this diary, on the basis of her diary. So many TV shows were made on the basis of her diary. So I would say that whatever she mentioned in her diary is authentic, is true. Thank you very much, dear students. With this, we come to the end of this chapter. this chapter is over. I hope whatever I have taught you today, you must have understood well. Please uh, write write the notes that we are sending, write them properly and learn your notes properly. For your convenience, I am giving you word meanings, vocabulary, glossary. I am giving you glossary. The word glossary means a list of words with their meanings. I am giving you, please learn it and please write the answers, learn everything. And thank you very much. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Till then, keep learning, keep practicing, and be safe, stay blessed. Thank you very much.